Hey everyone, I'm Kim and welcome back to Crime Stats Daily. This is a channel where we go beyond the headlines to examine the facts, the statistics, and the stories behind crime in America. Our goal is simple: to separate myth from reality using reliable data and credible research. If you enjoy fact-based crime analysis, hit that subscribe button and join me here each week as we delve into the numbers behind the crime. Now let's get started. Now today we are looking at 4 violent crime cases that are developing across America. These cases happened in Connecticut, Maryland, North Carolina, and Texas. And while these cases are very different, they have something important in common. Of course, they are still developing. So today we're not going to speculate about motives. We're not going to turn allegations into facts. And we're not going to assume that an arrest means something, that someone has been convicted. We're going to look at what authorities have reported so far and what we still don't know. So let's start in Connecticut. Just before 4 a.m. on Tuesday morning, Connecticut State Police responded to a home on South Road in Somers following a 911 call about a suspicious incident. Inside the home, officers found a man suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The victim was identified as 34-year-old Mark Morgan. Police arrested 33-year-old Joshua Freitag at the scene. Now, according to the arrest warrant, Freitag allegedly forced his way into the home and went upstairs where Morgan was located. Police say the two men had a history of conflict. Now, authorities have charged Freitag with murder, home invasion, and 2 counts of risk of injury to a minor. He is being held on a $1.5 million bond. There were also 2 children inside the home. Authorities say they were not physically injured. The person who made the 911 call was also not injured. Now, police say there was no ongoing threat to the public following the arrest. Now, this is where we're going to separate the allegations from the established facts. We know a man was killed. We know Freitag was arrested and charged. And we know police say the 2 men had a history of conflict. But the criminal case still has to work its way through the court system. An arrest and a criminal charge are not a conviction. Investigators still have to establish exactly what happened inside that home. Now let's move our way into Essex, Maryland. This case began on August the 10th. Baltimore County Police responded to a condominium complex after receiving a report of a shooting. Now, officers found 2 19-year-olds suffering from gunshot wounds. They were identified as Izick Aminartey and Donielle Mack, and both died. A suspect has now been arrested, and police identified him as 22-year-old Deandre Neal. According to police and charging documents, Neal turned himself in with his father. He is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder. The charging documents contain another significant allegation. Authorities say Neal told police that he wanted to take responsibility for his actions and admitted to killing the 2 victims. But he then stopped discussing the details after requesting an attorney. That distinction is important. We're reporting what investigators say he told them. This is not the same thing as a conviction or a final determination of guilt. The investigation and prosecution will now move forward through the court system. Once again, 2 very young people have lost their lives, while investigators now work to establish exactly what happened and, of course, why. Now, our third case takes us to Wilson, North Carolina. Now, this shooting happened this past Saturday morning at a Shell gas station on Raleigh Road Parkway. Just before 9 a.m., Wilson police were responding to a reported domestic incident. Now, while officers were on the way, dispatchers notified them that a woman had been shot. When officers arrived, they found 54-year-old Khisa Williams suffering from a gunshot wound. Williams was taken for medical treatment but died while being transported to the hospital. Police later arrested 54-year-old Devon Charnel Best in Raleigh. He was transported back to Wilson County and is facing charges of first-degree murder and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He is being held without bond. This case is another reminder that domestic violence doesn't necessarily happen behind closed doors. This alleged incident happened at a public gas station, but we need to be careful with the terminology. Police were responding to what they described as a domestic incident, and Best has been charged with murder. Those are the facts about the investigation. They are not a determination of guilt that will ultimately be decided through the criminal justice process. Now, our fourth case is the newest case, and it's the least settled. Early Wednesday morning, around 1:15 a.m., Houston police responded to a shooting in the Kashmere Gardens area. 3 men were shot, and according to police, a man in his 40s, a man in his 20s were shot in the face. A third man, also in his 40s, was shot multiple times in the legs. All 3 were taken to hospitals. Now, as of the latest reporting, authorities have not released their conditions. The scene was complicated. Police found 2 vehicles that had been involved, a black vehicle that had multiple bullet holes and crashed into a wall near the US 59 feeder. A red vehicle was found overturned in a ditch on Crane Street. Investigators still don't have a complete picture of what happened. A witness told investigators that one of the people in the black vehicle had allegedly been driving around displaying a pistol and provoking people before the shooting. Now, that's a witness account. It has not been established as fact. Police have not announced an arrest in the latest reporting, and that's exactly why we're going to be careful with the story. At this point, we know there was a shooting. We know 3 men were injured. We know there was damaged vehicles and bullet evidence. Investigators are still working to determine who fired the shots, what led to the confrontation, and exactly how the events unfolded. So let's put these 4 cases side by side. In Connecticut, a man was killed inside a home after what police described as a home invasion involving someone with whom he had a history of conflict. In Maryland, 2 19-year-olds were killed and a 22-year-old suspect has been arrested. In North Carolina, a 54-year-old woman was killed in a shooting that police described as stemming from a domestic incident. And in Texas, 3 men were wounded in an overnight shooting, with investigators still trying to determine exactly what happened. So you have 4 states, 4 different sets of circumstances, and 4 reminders that a crime headline rarely tells us the entire story. Now, this is something I want to emphasize because it's easy to forget when we're watching breaking news and when we're listening to our favorite true crime podcasters, because I follow it too. Allegations are just allegations, and theories are just theories. We want to follow the evidence here on Crime Stacks Daily. So the first report of a crime is often just the beginning. At first, we may just know that someone was shot. Then we learn the victim's identity. Then the investigators identify a suspect. Then an arrest is made. And then prosecutors present evidence. They build their case. And eventually, if the case goes to trial, a jury or judge will determine whether the evidence proves guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a process, and every stage can add information that wasn't available beforehand. That's why I believe we should be especially careful when we're looking at and developing crime stories. We can report what police say, we can report what court documents allege, and we can report what witnesses told investigators. But we shouldn't blur those things together and present allegations as a proven fact. And sometimes we sometimes misunderstand what we hear, or sometimes we have folks that are trying to take some of those allegations and prove them as fact. So here's the bottom line. 4 violent cases, 4 very different circumstances, and in every case, there is more to learn. In Somers, Connecticut, Mark Morgan is dead, and Joshua Freitag is facing murder and home invasion charges. In Essex, Maryland, Izick, Aminartey, and Donielle Mack are dead, and Deandre, Neal is facing first-degree murder charges. In Wilson, North Carolina, Khisa Williams is dead, and Devon Charnel Best is facing first-degree murder charges. In Houston, 3 men were wounded while investigators continue working to determine what led to the shooting. These aren't just headlines. There are victims and families behind all these cases. And there are investigators and prosecutors and defendants who will become part of what happens next. As these cases develop, the facts may become clearer. And if significant new information emerges, that's what we'll take another look at. Because at Crime Stats Daily, our goal isn't to be first, it's to be accurate. So stay informed, stay aware, and more importantly, stay safe out there. And I'll see you in the next episode.